Friends, thank you so much for being here in our sanctuary at Temple Beth Abraham, which has been a room where the Nelsons have experienced much joy, and yet today, obviously, there is no joy. We're here for two reasons. One is to celebrate the life of Zach Nelson. And even that is so difficult to do because it was a life that none of us were ready to let go. And yet, we also know that he lived the kind of life, even in his 27 short years here, which is so worthy of our celebration. And we want to acknowledge that even in our pain and our sadness. The second thing we're here to do is we're here to comfort the mourners. Now, when someone so young, so charismatic, so loving, such a friend to everyone dies, I understand that we are all mourners. And yet it is also our task to particularly offer comfort to Tom and Linda and Oren and Avi and Josh and Hannah and Sarah, whose mourning is deeper than the rest of us. And that process of comfort begins today with this memorial service, but it doesn't stop today. It's also tonight and tomorrow and next week and next month and all year. I trust that you will be there for them, that you will reach out to them, and you will let them know that you are there for them. And they know you're here for them. And if they need something, they know they can count on you. This will not be a terribly long service, as is the tradition in Judaism. It's not an open mic situation where there's going to be multiple speakers. There's just going to be a few. If you have words that you want to share, please write them out and send them to the Nelson family, as they provide tremendous comfort in the days and weeks ahead. So given our sadness, the pain that we're all experiencing, we're going to turn to our traditions, our psalms, which have offered our ancestors comfort in some of the deepest, darkest times in the history of the Jewish people. And although they're not enough, we hope they'll provide some measure for us today. So we're going to begin with the Psalms, with the 23rd Psalm in particular. And I believe it is in your programs, the English part of it, although I'm going to begin it in Hebrew. מזמור לדוד אדוני לא אחסר, והנה דשא ירביצני על מי מנוחות ינחלני, נפשי ישובב, ינחני במדלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא מוות לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, והשענת בשם על ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, V'shavti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is Sorrow Job who, in his book, the book is essentially about life not being fair, and yet it's still a part of our tradition, and we know it's such a part of today. He cried out to God, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakahi, Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given, God has taken, and nevertheless we bless the name of God. With Job, we say, Anayatan, you gave us an incredible human being whose lives we were blessed to share, even if a small part of. But we also say, Adonai Lakach, God, you have taken away a precious soul far too young, before any of us were ready. And nevertheless, we try amidst our pain to bless your name and lean on you for comfort. Yehishim Adonai Mevarach, blessed be your name, now and forever. There's a cruel irony in the fact that this week's Torah portion is called Bishalach, which is essentially about the sea, Shirat Hayam. It's when the Israelites pass through the waters, through dry land, and end up on the other side. And to think about this idea that our beloved Zachary was taken by the water, I mean, it's almost too cruel to bear, because there was no miracle of the sea splitting for Zachary. But for those who have ever experienced a Passover Seder, you might know that there's a custom where you take a drop of wine for each of the 10 plagues and you diminish your full cup. Our cups, I just want to acknowledge what we know to be true, is that our cups will never be completely full without his presence. It will always be diminished. We'll still be able to drink, we'll still be able to enjoy life as he did and how he did, but there will always be a piece of that cup missing. So I've had the honor of knowing Zachary since he was in the first grade, in a class at Hebrew school, which was all boys actually at the time, when the Nelsons lived here at Alameda. I got to know him when he came back as a college student at UC Davis and as a young adult in the broader community. He was beautiful and brilliant and sweet. And like many of you, I feel lucky to have known him for all too short of a time. And again, it's not a comfort or enough of a comfort, but we can honestly say that he packed more into his 27 years of life than, I would say, 27 of us would have packed into one lifetime. So his namesake, Zachary, is Zachariah, the biblical prophet. And that biblical prophet was known for his love of the Jewish people, his great vision for the future, his love of Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, and for speaking a whole lot of words. And Zachary did all these things and more. So as I share my remarks, I'm going to interweave some of the remarks that come directly from Tom and Linda. I'm going to tell you when that's the case. And then I'll have some more remarks that I'll read from them as well. But let's talk first about his love of God and the Jewish people. That's what Zechariah was. That's why he was chosen to speak to the Jewish people. And let me just give you a sentence from the prophet. The people shall be like crown jewels glittering on his soil. How lovely, how beautiful they shall be. Josh from 9:16. Josh loved Judaism and the Jewish people, and I'll have more on that in just a minute, but I want to talk about how he especially loved his own people, his family, and that reciprocal love. As Linda and Tom said, at 6 pounds, he was the smallest of our 5 children. Realizing this, we wanted to give him, or Linda wanted to give him, a strong name. Zachary David is a very strong name. Little did we know how appropriate it would be. As a middle child, and he was in the middle of the middle, he played the peacemaker between Oren and Avi. And then, as the older brother, he provided advice and guidance to Josh and Hannah. Whatever the role, Zach knew how to play it, and play it well. So when I was meeting with the family this week, I can tell you it was a mile a minute. Each of them just had so much to say about their brother, effusive praise, just each of them wanting to talk about how amazing Zachary was. To Tom and Linda, I know he was the apple of your eye. I mean, they all are, but there's a certain sweetness about Zach that's just inimitable. Each so special of all your children, but it was the sweetness of this one. For Orrin, he was an adventure buddy and eventually a party buddy, which occasionally gave him the name Zach Daniels, which came from a moment where he visited him in college, seemingly innocent, but he was familiarized with Jello shots, and then all of a sudden there was an entire bottle of Jack Daniels in his hand. Avi and him are very close in age and grade, and they did so many things together, including, and by the way, I'm not sugarcoating a lot of this stuff today, as you'll see. I already talked about Zach Daniels. They were Gadol, well, so I'll get to that one right now too. Apparently, they look alike, they're close in age, so fake IDs were a part of their experience together as well, which I'm not saying it was, but it maybe was Avi's real ID that had been lost. They were also Gadol and Sagan, the president and vice president together of their local BYO chapter. Josh talked about how his positivity was such a great role modeling for him, and he made the best out of any circumstance. Here comes another story that's just a little off, but worth telling. So they were coming back from Tahoe, and Orrin arranged a 1-hour date on the way back in Sacramento, okay? Josh was really, we really have to do this. We're going to do it in Sacramento while, Orrin's on a date. But even then, Avi said, we're going to find things to do in Sacramento. We're going to have fun. He would make the best of even that. Josh all talked about his chutzpah. He said if chutzpah was a person, it would be Zach. And if you don't know what chutzpah means, it sort of means gumption. Hannah talked about what an inspiration he was. He inspired my whole life. He got her interested in science and technology, and she could talk to him about anything. And she kept emphasizing to us his brilliance and how he was a tzaddik, which he was, a tzaddik, a truly righteous person. And I know his light will forever shine in you. His nieces, right, he would call Christine to check in on her and them. He would randomly visit his grandparents anytime he could, whether to drive them places, help them with technology, document their story of escape from Morocco to Israel. He was also really the glue for the whole family, the extended cousins in Israel. There's nearly 200 people watching right now on the YouTube live stream, and I'm sure they are a part of this as well. His deep love for his girlfriend, Sarah, and honestly, the rest of you, anyone he met, he made into family. As Linda and Tom put it, over the years, the friendship Zach developed with his siblings was deep and meaningful. Our family is spread across the country, and no matter the physical distance, Zach was always in contact with them. And when they were together with Zach, he would take them to a favorite place to eat or inspire them to go on an adventure. When the unthinkable and still unbelievable happened, one theme emerged from Orrin, Avi, Joshua, and Hannah. Each said to us, I have lost my best friend. Zach was truly a best friend to each of them. He was our best friend too, and he was his grandfather Pepe's best friend and his grandmother Meme's best friend. So that's love of people, the family. The prophet Zechariah also had great vision for the future. That's what prophets do. And in the specific case of Zechariah in the Tanakh, in the Bible, he has this vision of a measuring line, which was, I suppose, the tech of its time, and it somehow magically transforms into a city without walls, Jerusalem. And talk about thinking outside the box. And with technology, this was Zach too, which gave rise to a couple of his other nicknames. Zach Jones, Zach Musk. And a lot of you are familiar with what he was doing in the biotech industry, working on things that would save lives, getting patents, currently working on a device that could detect strokes early without an MRI, working on stents and blood vessels. One of his creations, called Memtech, named after Maimonides, the great Jewish thinker, Rambam. Combining love of tech and the Jewish people. He was also working on an Etsy platform for Judaic artists. He helped his mom, Linda's flower business, get started with an online presence as well. As a biomedical engineer, this is from Linda and Tom again, Zach had dreams to create medical devices that would improve lives. He was not your typical engineer, approaching every idea with the belief that anything was possible. His capstone project at Davis was a stroke detection device so compact that it could be available everywhere to speed detection and save a tremendous number of lives each year. His professor at Davis recommended the school fund and house the startup, but we wanted Zach to gain experience as an engineer first. In his short career, he invented or improved many devices, including steadcrafts and artery crossing devices. He collaborated with engineers in Israel and conceived and delivered solutions few thought were possible. But to Zach, everything was possible, and it showed in an innovative approach. And he was so passionate and articulate that this young inventor inspired his companies to do the seemingly impossible. That was our Zachary. The prophet Zechariah, famous for his love of the land of Israel, Jewish people in general. Zachary was always involved, BBRIO, UC Davis, Silicon Valley, Young Adults, Moshe House, you name it. He loved being a part of the Jewish people in so many ways. At UC Davis, Tom and Linda once again, Zach became a strong advocate for the Jewish community and for Israel. As the president of Aggies for Israel, he fought the scourge of BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement on campus and throughout the UC system. And despite discrimination from some professors, his efforts secured a statement from the UC president against BDS. And I have to add, it was a lonely experience for him. He was fighting this fight virtually by himself at times. Also, according to Tom and Linda, he played a critical role in community building among the Jewish students at the Hillel. As an officer and board member, his annual Moroccan Shabbat dinner was a hit among the students and featured the hot Moroccan fish that his Mimi cooked. It's such a hit that it continues today. 5 years after Zach graduated and under a grant from our family, it will continue for many, many years. When he graduated, he wanted to create, this is from Tom and Linda again, stronger sense of community and love for Israel among the Jewish community in the Silicon Valley and in the Bay Area. He joined the Moshe House, where he lived in San Francisco and in Sunnyvale, working with roommates to host Shabbat dinners, holiday parties, silent discos, and many other events. He was a founding director of the Jewish Youth Academy, focused on enhancing the lives of young Jewish professionals in the South Bay Area through leadership development, networking, and education. Zach loved his Jewish Moroccan heritage and served on the board of Jemena, Jews indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. In San Francisco, focused on achieving universal recognition for the heritage and history of the 850,000 indigenous Jewish refugees from the Middle East and North Africa. His work also took him to Israel a bunch of the last 2 years. He cherished every minute. Israel loved him too, as evidenced by, well, many things, but especially it looks like at times in the search for Zachary, it looks like an elite unit of the Israeli Navy searching and diving. Finally, Zechariah was known, the prophet, for a lot of words. He has this vision of a flying Torah scroll in the book. And this Zachary Nelson could talk to anyone about every subject. He really was kind of an expert in everything. And if he wasn't, he would listen to you, what you would say, he would make it his own, he would become an expert in it. He always had an opinion, or two, or three, or four. But he could change his mind and make it his own new opinion. And really, he just loved to talk and to be with people. That was just such an important part of who he was. I'll read more of Lynn and Tom's words in just a little bit after we have a few other speakers. But I want to get back to that story of the Red Sea, where the Israelites are standing on the shores and they somehow cross to dry land. And there's this important midrash, a story about the story that's not in the Torah, about how one person, his name is Nachshon ben Aminadav, Nachshon the son of Aminadav. The people are standing around, they don't know what to do, and Nachshon wades in. all the way until the sea is up to his neck. He's not afraid. He goes in, he jumps in. And that's when the sea split. Well, Zach also took these leaps of daring, innovation, defense of the Jewish people, defense of Israel. And he inspired the rest of us. He enabled the rest of us to cross onto the dry land. His work enabled miracles. And despite our tremendous grief and sadness, we need to take a moment to appreciate what his daring, what his innovation, what his love of the Jewish people, what his love of words, what his love of learning, what they did for us. And we will never forget that. It says in the book, Adonai et Zion uvachar od b'Yerushalayim. I'm sorry, I forgot the first word. Nicham Adonai od et Zion uvachar od b'Yerushalayim. May God comfort Zion and Jerusalem. And so we take comfort in the best we can. And let us also remember that the word Zachariah, Zachary, it means either remember God or God will remember. We, Zachary, will remember you. We'll remember all the blessings you gave us forever. And let us say, Amen. This time I'm going to ask a couple of the uncles to say a few words, starting with Uncle Azar Benabu.
Hello, everyone. I'm Azar. I have the incredible blessing of being one of Zach's uncles. I want to first thank you all for being here. Seeing you all here is a testament of how many lives Zach has touched. Zach, as everyone here knows, is a true mensch. What he did in the short time that he was with us is what the rest of us aspire to do in a lifetime. He is kind, smart, caring, devoted, loyal, and wise beyond his years. He gives unconditional love to those around him. He is completely dedicated to the family, his friends, and the love of his wife, Sarah. Zach is a teacher, an inventor, a people connector, a thrill seeker. And everything he does is in a way that positively impacts others in the world around him. Zach is a lover of life and a true leader. He is hard to explain in words what Zach means to us and how beautifully he is. He loved his life. But I will try my best to capture the essence of Zach. Zach is completely devoted to family. Most of us talk about our family as family and friends. But Zach did not differentiate between the two. Zach truly treated his family as his best friends. He loved being with the people he loved, creating memories with his parents, Tom and Linda, brothers, Warren, Avi, and Josh, his beautiful sister, Hannah, his beautiful sister-in-law, Christina, and beautiful nieces, Rachel and Alice. His cousins, Brian, Liz, Emma, Sadie, Thomas, Aaliyah, Jacob, Rebecca, George, Augustus, Nathan, Max, Sam, Matthew, Christopher, and Emily. His aunts, Karen, Crystal, Ming, Claudia, Candy, and Sandy. His uncles Don, Steve, Tim, Chuck, Isaac, and Gabby. And of course, his beloved grandparents, Meme, and all this extended family in Israel, Wisconsin, and elsewhere. He loved to learn what was new in all of us, in all our lives, and he took a general interest in our recent successes, failures, and milestones. How many people Zach's age love hanging out with their grandparents? Well, Zach did. He would eat dinner with them often, asking them questions of their childhood, sit on the couch with them watching the Warrior games. I learned about the mark and heritage in him. My dad, Zach's Pepe, told me, and I quote, "I lost a best friend." I lost a best friend. Zach would come over many times. He would just sit on the couch, and we would talk. And I was always asking, "Pepe, when we going fishing next time?" He always had an indefinite amount of love to give. Zach makes being his friend so easy. He has a way of making you feel safe and supported. You immediately knew that he cared and he was genuinely interested in you and about you. He loved having Shabbat dinners, social gatherings, getting to know you better, meeting new friends, making them part of his circle was something he cherished. The outpouring of support is a testament to Zach's ability to touch others. Who could resist Zach's infectious smile? You can't help but smile back and forget your troubles when Zach is around. He was extremely passionate about his work. He was always thinking about ways to create medical devices, to advance medical research and technology. I have to admit that most of the times that he talked to me about what he did, it just went over my head. He was just so excited about his work, and he would make me excited too. But because of the way in which he would describe things he did, it just sounded just so cool. Just like his relationships, his work made an impact on others, and he loved sharing it with others. Zach is an inventor. Not sure if you know, but he developed a stick graft, an artery crossing medical device. Very impressive. He also created a laser etching machine, which he used to etch the Hebrew symbol Chai, which means life, onto the side of his leather safari hat that he proudly wore and loved. You can see that actually on the program. Zach never thinks of what he could have been. He does. His journey through life was filled with experiences worth several lifetimes. When he had a mission, there's no doubt that he would achieve it. Zach has a great love for Israel, his heritage, and his family there. He was involved in several organizations related to Judaism and his heritage, and he took on Jewish leadership roles as much as he could. He lived in the Moshe House. He was part of many boards and Jewish organizations. He initiated the annual Moroccan Shabbat in UC Davis. He traveled to Israel whenever he could and did much more. Zach loves nature. And he will always inspire us to see the outdoors as an extension of ourselves. He would send pictures often of his travels to the family to share with us. I recall the stories when he brilliantly hiked and climbed Half Dome in Yosemite. The times he went diving, when he was learning how to fly. Zach told me, Uncle Azar, Uncle Azar, the view from above is so beautiful. Zach would want us to carry his passion for life, for people, and for the world around him. I talk about Zach in the present tense because while he was taken from us too soon, he will always be right there to cheer us up. With his unforgettable chuckles, counsel us through difficult times, and encourage us to find a meaning and purpose for each other. He would want us to strengthen our bonds with family, with friends, pursue other goals with ruach and full intention. I encourage all of you to carry out his legacy by doing what Zach did. Love life, care for others, meet new friends, and improve this world for the better. Zach's impact on this world does not end. His legacy with the impact he has made on his family, friends, and the world will continue forever. Zach is a shining star that will always watch over each other and every one of us because he would not have it any other way. Zach is smiling upon us, giving us that beautiful ear-to-ear grin, lifting us out of dark times. Zach is the goodness in our lives, and he will forever be in our hearts. We are all united through the gifts that Zach has given us. Thank you.
Call upon another uncle, Tim Nelson.
Zachary David Nelson. Many people talk about living life to the fullest. Zachary actually did it. He was such a special young man. He had the light of life in him, and his smile lit up every room he ever walked into. And if you walked into a room and Zach was already there, it was not uncommon to hear, Uncle Tim! Uncle Steve! He had such life and such energy and such passion. Tom asked me to share some of Zach's experiences with his Nelson uncles. But I just want to say it all starts and ends with Tom and Linda and the way you raised your children to love each other, to love their aunts, their uncles, their cousins. We always felt like we were one large family. Benaboos, Nelsons, Mosleys. There was never any question. Zach loved to go on hiking trips with his Uncle Don. My brother Don took great purpose and pleasure in setting up trips to spend time with his uncles, or with his nephews. And whether it was going to Yosemite or Canoe Hill in Sparks, Nevada, Zach was always there for those trips. I'm not sure that Linda approved of the shooting trips in the Nevada desert, but Zach was right in the middle of everything that involved his Uncle Don and spending time with him. They forged a special relationship that led to conversations about just about everything, including God, politics, physics, medicine, biology, or sports. The other day, Don told me that Zach made him feel loved, important, and honored. And Don said it was always such a blessing to be with him. My brother Steve was always impressed by how Zach made him and his family feel important. As busy as he was in his life, and as we've heard, he packed more into his life in 27 years than most could do in 27 lifetimes. But as busy as he always had time for his Uncle Steve. Whether it was meeting for lunch at Cattleman's so Uncle Steve could feed a hungry college student, or during his internship and beyond. And one thing Steve wanted me to impress on everyone, it's not like he felt obligated to spend time with his Uncle Steve. Zach was usually the one who initiated their get-togethers. And that was true for probably all of us uncles and aunts. He always greeted all of us with a bear hug and that irrepressible smile that you see on your programs. And of course, Uncle Steve! And Zach was never in a hurry to get back to the office. He wanted to know everything that was going on with Steve, with his Aunt and Ming, with his younger cousins. In fact, Zach would plop on the couch in our living room around the holidays and sit in between Christopher and Emily, get them off their cell phones, engage them in conversation. Zach always talked to Steve with great passion about the things he and his company were doing to help people live longer and healthier lives. As for me, I would check in with Zach when he was in school at Davis. I would text him when work took me to Davis and see if he was available to go to lunch. We always went to Burgers and Brew, and I always ordered the buffalo burger, and Zach ordered the lamb burger. And every time he would say, "Man, Uncle Tim, this is the most amazing lamb burger I've ever had." He would tell me what he was working on in school, and then he'd give me the 411 on plastering projects that were happening on the UC Davis campus. My previous job, I monitored projects in Northern California for the plastering industry, and Zach relished being my undercover agent, dropping a dime and giving me a call and let me know that, hey, there's something up here you might want to come take a look at. He'd ride his bike around campus. If you've been up to Davis, you know it's a very biker-friendly campus. And so, but our last night in California over the recent holidays, Zach made dinner for Auntie Karen and me. We'd just gotten done with a crazy ordeal selling our Trailblazer, and we're exhausted. And Zach made dinner for Auntie Karen and me, for Linda. He made lamb. It's the best lamb I've ever had. It was amazing. And of course, when I walked into the townhouse, he said, "Uncle Tim." In closing, Zach, you are irreplaceable. You lived with a heart full of joy, and you had a knack for making us laugh until we cried. Your infectious personality will warm our hearts forever. We love you.
Thank you so much. Amen. Thank you. His last New Year's Eve post on Facebook: from the ocean depths to snow-capped mountains, lush forests to barren deserts, continent to continent, ocean to ocean, Judea to Mitzrayim to Sinai. What an adventure we had in 2022, and adventures we will have in 2023. Sarah, you inspire everything. Loving you is so easy. Life with you is so amazing. If she's able to, we're going to call upon Sarah for a few words as well. Give her a moment.
Zach, my love, you came to this world as a peacemaker. You embody all of the characteristics of a true, righteous man. We all know of your intelligence, your generosity, your love for Judaism, and you shared your passion, your true passion, to inspire a deep, genuine love for Israel. To me, Zach, you healed my heart. You showed me what it meant to be loved without ego. You were my first love, and I'm so grateful that I had you for as long as I did. Like so many others who knew you, you gave my life purpose and modeled what it meant to live a life of intention, complete with a genuine love of life, sharing joy and optimism with ease. We had so many special and profound moments together. We never held back our authentic selves, and we loved so deeply. I will never forget the moment I knew I was going to marry you. And it was a lot sooner than you might have expected. Early into our relationship, after another challenging day at work, you texted me, "What about a spontaneous trip to the beach?" I hadn't seen the ocean in months since I moved here. I told myself, I'm gonna marry him. You always showed up. You always achieved the impossible. Your motto was to maximize life to the fullest, and you carried that with you, and you infected that ambition to everyone you met. Your smile is magnetic. a true angel of positivity. To me, you became my everything. You held me and guided me through my darkest hours. You protected me and looked after me, which you will continue to do in heaven. You brought so much joy and adventure to my life, and you did it all so effortlessly. What we experienced and accomplished, the many places we traveled to, the love we shared, the joy we experienced, it was like we lived 100 lives. The love you taught me was possible. The way you loved is irreplaceable, but I will carry it on for you and share that genuine love with as many people I encounter. I will miss the perfect sigh of content you shared. May Hashem allow us to feel that content and be as expressive. We will follow in your likeness and share positivity and optimism for Klal Yisrael. They say God challenges a person according to their strength. God bless me with extraordinary strength, and I know that I will be okay one day. I will be strong for your family and all of the young Jews you inspired, those who loved you deeply, and those who merely were looking for a warm meal on a Friday night. Although I never wanted my strength tested like this, I promise to make you proud. I promise to follow my passions and bring so much joy to this world. I promise to share your vision of Zionism and love Israel with my every fiber. I promise to be so endlessly loving and positive despite the challenges I face. I promise to remember you every step of the way. And I will continue to love the world to its core and the ocean to its endless depth, even more than before, because you are a part of it. I love you, Zach. I love you so much, my precious island boy.
Thank you so much for your beautiful words. I know that there are many more people who have so much more they would like to share and say, but at the wishes of the family, we're not going to be able to do that. And I hope that you will consider writing out your words and giving them to Tom and Linda, and they can disseminate and share them. What I'd like to do for the final words is I want to share the rest of Tom and Linda's words. There is no ability to express the deep pain and sadness we feel at this time. Each of you know that. We have lost a great treasure. It's an unfathomable loss for the two of us and for Oren, Avi, Joshua, Hannah, Christina, Rachel, Alice, and Sarah. And it's a painful loss for our parents, Abner and Lisa, and for our whole family, most of whom are here today. It's also a loss for Zachary's many friends and for the Jewish community, and I would add, the entire world. It hurts deeply, and we know that it hurts you as well. While we cannot express our pain in words, we can share with you what Zachary, our sweet, exceptional, and deeply loved boy, meant to all of us. In such a short life, he was so much to so many people, and we cannot comprehend how he was able to do this, all the things you've heard about already today. His work was all-consuming, and he loved every minute of it. 70 and 80-hour work weeks were his normal pace. It was a pace that always concerned us, but Zach would tell us, it's okay, I'm loving this. We know he also had a passion for adventure, and in between his career and community efforts, he lived life to its fullest, and that is not an overstatement. He loved to hike and climb and surf and swim and travel and scuba dive and work toward his pilot license in his spare time, and loved to fly. How he found time to do all this work, develop community, pursue love, go on adventures, and still have time to develop deep relationships with his siblings, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends, we have no idea. But he did it. And seeing all of you here today and hearing from so many loved ones over the past few days, I can tell you that he did it. Zach was a tzaddik and a real mensch in the truest sense of these words. He sought to make everyone around him better, and he was genuine about it. But he only had so much time to be all things to all people. I know he wanted to do even more. One of his rabbis, Rabbi Konikoff, his words brought meaning to us this week when he said Zach's soul was special, and he wanted to do many more mitzvot than his body would allow. The soul is constrained by the body and its available time and energy, and when such a wonderful soul is separated from the physical body, it is free to do so much more good in the world. Zach's soul has been freed to help everyone he can imagine. In the process, we are heartbroken. But we are certain that he will spend his time creating an mitzvot for each of us, each of you, in ways that you will feel, but from whom you will not know. That is our Zachary, and we were blessed to have spent every minute with him. We wanted so much more, but that was not God's plan. Zach will live in all of us for eternity, and our love, a deep and indescribable love, will always endure, provide us with strength and comfort. And if you don't think it's possible, I want to refer you to the Optimist Creed, which he lived by and spoke just about every day with his family. We're going to read it together on the back of the program. By Christian D. Larson. Together. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to take health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own, to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. Give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Words to live by. We rise now for the El Malay Rachamim Memorial Prayer. El Malay Rachamim Shochen B'Meromim Ametzei Menucha Nechona Achat Kanfei Ashchina במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הזכייה מזהירים את נשמת זכריה בן אברהם ולינדה, שהלך לעולמו, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו, ענה ברחמים הסתירהו, ושאת כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בשמיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Zachary ben Avram Velinda, Zachary Nelson, who is gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in the shadow of your wings. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. And now we recite, those who wish to, but certainly those certainly the initial mourning relatives, the mourner's Kaddish. It's also on the inside of your program. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alman Yifrach Yeruteh, V'yamliv Mahuteh, V'chayehon V'yomehon, V'yedeho Beit Yisrael, V'agalah V'tzman Kariv V'yimru, Amen. Yeheshmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam L'omei Omaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach, V'yitahar, V'yitromam, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shminu, Sham, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of this righteous man be a blessing to us always. If you would maybe seated, and if you would give a moment for the front row to walk out. We're going to walk out together, and I'll ask. So the front row is going to follow me, and I'll ask everyone to repeat words, traditional words of comfort after me as we walk through, and then there's a meal of condolence. Might not be enough to feed everybody here, but there's a lot of food, and please partake of that. And there will be a Shiva service tonight at the home at 7:30 p.m. Again, thank you so much for coming. You would all repeat after me. May God control you. May God control you. All the more. In Zion, Jerusalem. Zion, Jerusalem. My home in heaven, and the service of Jerusalem. Now the Lord is peace. Amen. Amen. This concludes the service, and welcome to go down.